All right, so as you know, we're a little bit of a rainy Thursday here, kind of thinking about getting into winter, unfortunately, after such a great weekend that we had of warm weather. Hopefully we can continue that at least through the holidays, but the inevitability of winter is still kind of right around the corner. And one of the great things that we have here is the use of the simulator. Things are going to be a little bit different this year with the way the simulator is going to be used. We're going to require mask wearing while you're in here. No more than one person per use for an hour block, unless you are in the same household. If you do live in the same household, you may use this more than just one person at a time. Also, we have this putting green in here as well that was frequently used by people maybe waiting for that had the next reservation. Unfortunately, we won't be allowing anybody to come in here until it's their time. So once somebody walks out, that's when the next reservation can come in. But those are just some of the adjustments that we're going to make this year just due to the current situation. But that doesn't change anything that goes on over here. So we're just going to give you a little bit of a rundown. I use this frequently to practice during the winter, so I'm going to kind of show you exactly what I use, what numbers I look at when I'm in here practicing, which hopefully will help you make a little bit more out of the time that you're going to spend in here practicing this winter. So this is just a 7-iron for me, one of the 7-irons that I hit. There's lots of numbers on the screen, lots of different data that we see. But some of the big things that I'm looking at when I'm practicing, some of the things that I'm going to try to gauge, obviously ball flight. I want to make sure that I'm hitting it straight or keeping it on target. But then there's some other things. So I get a lot of questions in here over the winter time, kind of what these numbers mean. So we're going to go through that. On this right hand side, there's just a little grid that will kind of show you, how far offline you are. There's a number on the bottom left too that tells you the height. The apex height in yards. That's not too big of a deal for most of us more practicing. And then a descent angle. Also, really not a huge deal for most of us that are practicing, but it is good data to have. We have this side angle number, and basically all this is telling me is where the ball came off the face in relation to my target line. So it did, or to my club path. So it came off the face 2 degrees to the left, which means for me, being left-handed, I just pushed it out there a little bit left of center. But when you combine these two numbers, you see this is my side spin. I had 312 RPMs to the right. That's where I can get this ball back online to an offline yard or an offline read of 0 yards offline. This right hand number, this big number, that's club head speed. So that's how fast you actually were able to swing the club. A lot of people want to see that. They want to know how fast. We use this a lot for fitting. When somebody's on the bubble of shafts, we use this to kind of fit them or get a good guide into what shaft they should be hitting. So that's a good number to use. Maybe if you're going to reflect in the market for new clubs, that's a good number to kind of get a gauge on how fast you are swinging. Now, the big thing that I look at is the relation between these two. Like I said, that's our club head speed. This is our ball speed. So, for a driver, the maximum amount, and then when you take, let me take a step back here. When you take these two numbers together, you divide that number by this number divided by that number, you get your smash factor. Smash factor is that number that you might see, on tour. The maximum smash factor that you can possibly have that clubs are built for is 1.5. So if you think about it, if I was hitting a driver and I was swinging at 100 miles an hour, the maximum ball speed that I would be able to get would be 150. It goes down for different clubs, like a 7-iron. An optimal smash factor is about 1.27, between 1.27 and 1.35. So I'm looking to see how much or how good I hit it based upon that number, and that gets me my ball speed. Now for this shot right here, I would actually like to see that number a little bit higher, but I'll be in here all winter, so if you wanted to see, exactly where you were, or get a good gauge on how you're hitting it, maybe if you do have older clubs, the difference between those older clubs and the newer clubs, how that relates to how fast the ball is actually coming off the face, that's a good number to look at. Here's another number that a lot of people like to see. They want to see how much spin they could generate. This is their back spin. So this is the back spin that I have on a 7-iron. That's right in a good gauge for me. That means I'm going to be able to stop it on the green. And again, this changes for clubs. So a lot of people think, the faster that they swing it, the more it's going to spin. Well, for a driver, our driver spin, we actually want somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,500 RPM. So, and I can swing a driver a little bit faster than 96 miles an hour. So that's actually going to come down. This number is more important, like I said, on those drivers. If you want to figure out how you're going to get more distance, how you want to hit the ball further, well, you're not going to be able to do that with a driver if that number is too high. You're also not going to be able to do it with the driver if that number's far too low. It just won't stay up in the air high, long enough to get out there to where we need to go. Also a good number that we use when we're fitting, and a good number when we're practicing too, if you think that you might have too high of a ball flight, too low of a ball flight. I use this number a lot too when I'm teaching to see if somebody's flipping at it, that ball's kind of soft, coming off soft off the face and going up towards the sky. This is our launch angle number. And again, this does change based upon the club, obviously, because the clubs have different lofts, but there is an optimal range too. And so that's right in my good ballpark here for a 7-iron. But when I do have a driver, what I like to see when I'm fitting is I like to see a launch angle right about average 3 degrees more than what the loft of the club face is. So most of us are going to fit into a 10.5 degree driver. I like to see something in like that 13, 14 degree launch angle. Again, couple that with good spin, and that's where we get our distance. Now, for each person that comes in here, we'll reset this practice session for you, and it'll have all of your data from your practice session over here. Now, this is that shot total that I just hit. That's that total that the ball carried and rolled out. But that number on the left here, that's the number that it carried. This number here, that's the average total. So say I was only going to come in here and I wanted to hit just 7-iron after 7-iron after 7-iron. Well, that's a good number that I could use to gauge really how far I should expect to hit my 7-iron. I hit 5 shots, my average was 173. So I know when I go out on the golf course that when I have 173 yards, I'm probably going to need to hit the 7-iron. Some of the other cool capabilities that we'll see here with hopefully each and every one of you this winter, we can also play golf courses on here. Pretty much any golf course that you might, notoriety that you might be able to think of, we have on here. Just using this, we're able to play those golf courses. We don't actually putt because putting is a little bit difficult, so it's like a 2-putt sort of max situation. And then if you're really close, it does give you gimmies. I think it's inside 6 feet. But yeah, so a lot of fun stuff in here over the winter time. A great place to work on your game. Great place to maybe play a golf course or two. Good place to ask me any questions that you might have about the data from your game. This system is very, very good at letting us know exactly the metrics that we need to be able to assess our game and to practice with a purpose. So, like I said, I hope to see everybody in here this winter. If you ever have any questions about how this runs, what you should be looking at, if something maybe seems a little bit off, just let one of us know. Like I said, I'll be in here with you all most of the winter. We'll see you soon.